vulnerable. So the city has raped the taxpayer. They gave them a residential hotel room, probably owned by the politician's brother-in-law, by the politician's front company, right? And now they won't stay in the hotel rooms. They're back in the street. But wait, it gets better. They gave them a hotel room. Every one of them has a hotel room. They won't stay in them. They're back in the gutter. And now they want counseling. So now we're going to hear that we need more counselors. It's only the humane thing to do. Brenda Clark was rousted from the biggest homeless camp in the city in August 2012 and got her first permanent roof in a decade, a residential hotel room. You know how expensive those are? Take a look at what they charge, those rat-infested hotel rooms. City outreach counselors quickly placed her there, and it's paid for by the city. No, it's paid for by the taxpayer, not the city. We read that the next step is harder, behaving like someone with a stable life who sleeps indoors. The problem for her, as for so many people in supportive housing, they call it supportive housing, you hear, is that she had been on the streets for so long that she'd forgotten how to fully function inside, so she now sleeps outside most nights, looking and acting just like a lot of homeless people. San Francisco has created enough supportive housing in the past decade to pull about 9,000 bums into residential complexes, staffed with counselors to help them get over the dysfunctions that isn't that touching? The dysfunctions. But most residents and tourists who walk these streets notice little difference. That's because there isn't enough counseling, we read, to go around for those who need it intensively. So now we're going to have to pay for counselors. Take a guess which politicians in San Francisco are in the counseling business, and how many of them have brother-in-laws and cousins and nephews who can't find jobs, who bought residence hotels to provide rooms for the bums. You have any idea what the bum industry is? A very big industry in San Francisco. It's a heck of an industry. So there it is. There's no end to liberalism, the mental disorder. Then they tell us that this is a decade, 9,000 homeless people into residential complexes, but they can't get over the dysfunctions that put them on the streets. That's what mental hospitals are for. Counselors cannot help those people. It's time to reopen the mental hospitals that were closed by Jerry Brown's father. Now, I'll hear that Ronald Reagan closed them, but he didn't. It was Jerry Brown's father, when he was governor, who ordered that the mental hospitals be closed, and it was Ronald Reagan who came to office, who inherited that law and had to actually close the nut houses. And then they were thrown into the streets, and the rest is history. San Francisco is a sewer, an open sewer pipe. An open sewer pipe, dangerous criminals running in the streets, bums defecating in doorways. You ask anybody. Urinating, defecating in doorways. The tourists are terrified of these bums. They're very aggressive. And it's all because of a Democrat regime of 40 years ago that said it was inhumane to keep them locked up in mental hospitals. Well, what do you think mental hospitals were invented for? For mentally unstable people who needed to be hospitalized and helped inside hospitals. You cannot turn the streets into open wards. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.